I never imagined a harmless joke could spiral into one of the most unforgettable nights of my life. It began innocently enough. My wife, Sarah, tossed out a playful line during a casual evening with our neighbors. With a laugh, she said, $100 and a burger and I'll do it. Everyone chuckled. It sounded like typical Sarah. Witty, teasing, always pushing boundaries just enough to keep things fun. But the way she said it, and the look our neighbor Tom gave in return, told me something else was in the air. Sarah had always been playful, sometimes bold, often testing limits for amusement. But I'd learned over time that even jokes could reveal hidden truths, fragment of curiosity or ego peeking through humor. So I stayed quiet, letting the moment breathe. Some friends laughed. Others smiled awkwardly. But beneath the laughter, I could already feel a subtle tension forming. Tom wasn't just any neighbor. He carried himself with a quiet confidence, the kind of man who noticed things most people missed. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he raised an eyebrow, gave a faint smile that never quite reached his eyes, and leaned back as if weighing her words. He understood the challenge in her tone, the flirtatious spark behind the humor, the test of attention. The night carried on with light conversation, snacks, and laughter, yet the air had undeniably shifted. Sarah kept circling back to her original joke, clearly enjoying the ripple it caused. She wore that familiar glint of mischief, expecting Tom to play along with her teasing like everyone else had. But he didn't, not at first, and his silence unsettled her more than a sharp reply ever could. Then, after a thoughtful pause, Tom finally spoke. $100 and a burger? He said smoothly. Make it 1,000. He said it lightly, almost as if he were joking, but the effect was instant. Sarah's laughter cut off. Her eyes widened, and the room fell silent. What began as her playful banter had just transformed into something entirely different, a challenge she hadn't expected to be taken seriously. Her smirk disappeared. For the first time that night, she looked uncertain. She tried to recover quickly, letting out a shaky laugh. Oh, come on, 1,000? You're joking. But her voice gave her away. That easy confidence she wore so effortlessly had cracked. Tom, on the other hand, stayed calm. He didn't need to say more. His composure was enough to turn the room. The laughter that once surrounded her now dissolved into an uneasy quiet. Everyone sensed it, the shift, the new tension. What started as harmless humor had turned into something deeper, a test of boundaries, awareness, and control. I stayed silent, observing everything. Her posture, her glances toward me, the small flickers of discomfort crossing her face. She looked to me for help, for a reaction, for rescue, but I didn't step in. I wanted her to feel the weight of her own words, not through anger or embarrassment, but through reflection. Sometimes silence teaches more than confrontation ever could. Over the next few minutes, she tried to regain her balance. She cracked more jokes, forced smiles, tried to lighten the room again, but the rhythm was gone. Her charm no longer held center stage. Tom's calm demeanor had shifted the dynamic completely. The attention, once hers, had vanished. The unspoken lesson lingered in the air. When everyone finally left, the tension still clung to the room like humidity. Sarah sat quietly, avoiding my eyes. The playful spark she always carried was dimmed, replaced by quiet unease. I spoke softly. You have to be careful with jokes like that. I said, people don't always respond the way you expect. And sometimes that changes everything. She nodded slowly, finally meeting my gaze. I didn't think it would go that far, she whispered. It was the first real acknowledgement of what had happened. A single line meant for laughter had turned into something far more revealing, a lesson she hadn't intended but clearly needed. That night didn't end in anger or blame. It ended in realization. She had learned something fundamental. Humor carries weight, and even light word can land heavily when misread or pushed too far. The following days were quiet but thoughtful. Sarah was different, not withdrawn but more self-aware. Her teasing became gentler, her words measured. The carefree confidence had been replaced by mindfulness. I could see her thinking before she spoke, recognizing how easily tone could shift meaning. Tom's simple response had done what lectures never could. He didn't scold, didn't mock, didn't humiliate her. He simply held up a mirror. The reflection did the rest. She saw how quickly control could change hands, how humor could blur into vulnerability, and that realization stayed with her. A few days later, she came to me privately. Her tone was soft, her expression sincere. "I understand now," she said quietly. "I didn't mean anything by it, but I see how it looked. I won't do that again." Her words carried honesty, not out of guilt, but growth. It wasn't about punishment. It was about awareness, about seeing how easily intention could clash with perception. That housewarming night, one I thought would be filled with nothing but laughter and easy conversation, turned into something much deeper. A reminder that words, even when wrapped in humor, carry weight. Humor can connect or divide, elevate or expose. Used carelessly, it can reveal more than intended. By the end of it all, Sarah's laughter had softened into understanding. What started as a joke about $100 and a burger had become a quiet turning point, a moment of humility, respect, and self-reflection. We both carried that night with us. Because sometimes the lessons that stay with us the longest come not from anger or conflict, but from a single unexpected pause, when laughter gives way to realization,